Welcome back. It's Monday night. He is Justin Saldonio. I'm Justin Ogden. It's Taco Ball Tuesday.
Taco Ball Tuesday, baby. First, a quick shout out to my main man, Mr. Justin Ogden's wife, Mrs. Ogden, on a birthday. Hope you're enjoying watching The Bachelorette more than we're enjoying watching this game.
At this point, I'm thinking Bachelor might be a little bit more entertaining than what the Bucks have done so far in Game 1.
Yeah, Game 2. I might have to flip the switch.
Ew.
This is all 2 games of just poop in the bed, baby. Just
Holy cow. And what we thought would be one of the most hyped matchups. I mean, I think it's still gonna go the distance, but before we get into round 2, we got to close up some series from round 1. What a
yes,
week.
we do. Yes, we do.
But first off, Justin, the Lakers. A moment of silence. Oh. Rejoice that the Lakers are out, baby.
LeBron. See what I have to deal with. Haters. Haters gonna hate.
No Steph Curry. SportsCenter had that tweet saying it has been a decade. It's
Lakers
10 years since we did not have LeBron or Steph in the finals. This is a new era.
No Spurs. We're going back when your main man, Mr. Michael Jordan, used to play. That's how long it's been since we've had any of these people. It's crazy times.
Yeah, back to when pretty much when Kobe took over.
So prior to the Cobes.
So let's get into some closing thoughts for round 1. I want to talk about Nuggets Blazers. What we thought would go to 7 games ended in 6. What happened to the Blazers there?
I was extremely disappointed that we didn't get a 7th game of Dame time. Just a masterful performance in Game 5, ending in a loss. What he scored, 17 points in the 2 overtime periods, and the rest of his team scored 2. What more can the man do? He needs some help. I got a question for you, though. What is more likely to happen this offseason? Dame gets some help or Dame gets traded? The Blazers make a big move to bring somebody in, or they make a big move to send Dame to a more deserving location?
So I'm going with I think they keep Dame. I think he wants to be there, and I think they move some pieces around. It's going to be a dramatically different roster, but I think they still build around Dame. I mean, when I was watching that overtime and double overtime, it's like when you saw him get the ball, you knew he was scoring a 3-pointer. I mean, it was insane, the number of daggers that he hit in a row.
I tried to go to bed early because the Lakers were getting blown out, and I found myself being like, well, let me just check this game. Next thing you know, we're up into 2 overtimes. So yeah, I don't.
You think they bring anyone else in, or I don't see him shipping him off. I
don't know. I just don't think there's any way they can run it back with the same group that they have. That changes have to be made. I think maximum potential, maximum return is right now for Damian Lillard, but I don't know. I've got to spend some more time looking at the contract situation, how much he's got left. But yeah, you saw Nurkic put up his best, but he was just outmatched by Nikola because he was putting him into foul trouble. When he was on the court, they were good. But as soon as he leaves, their defensive rating just like plummets because Enes Kanter just ain't it. So I don't know. That's my big intrigue is what surrounds Dame. I wouldn't mind seeing him in, say, a Laker uniform alongside LeBron
No,
James. But
no, no, stop it, stop
I
it.
know,
That's
I
crazy
know,
talk.
I know. Danny Ainge has already tried to put out that the Celtics might be trying to acquire Damian Lillard if he's available in trades, just so that when he goes somewhere else, they can say that they tried, even though they are not actually willing to give anybody up to get him. So I don't know.
Shut the front door on that. Dame isn't going anywhere. It's still going to be Dame time in Portland. So speaking of changes to a roster that needs to be made, our only game 7 that we got in
Oh,
round 1.
I don't even want to
Did
think
it
about
did
it.
it disappoint? Did it not disappoint? Clippers, Mavs. Kawhi and PG come down the stretch and send home Luka in the Mavs.
2 years in a row, Luka going home. Last year, not his fault because he was intentionally injured. Let's not get into that. But he balled out 2 series in a row. Dame needs help. Take away from this one, Luka needs help. Kristaps Porzingis ain't doing it.
Mm-hmm.
7'3", getting 2 dunks a game, getting out rebounded by 5 foot Jalen Brunson. I'm sorry, it's just no good. I mean, when you're 7'3" and your team needs to bring in Boban Marjanovic to take the role of a dominating big man, what are you even doing? A
Yeah,
good.
you're playing that zone against
I love
against the
Boban.
shooters.
I was
Yeah,
freaking out. He was awesome. But Kristaps can't be your number 2. They've got to find somebody. Tim Hardaway Jr. Laid an egg. He looked awful. I know he went out early with an ankle injury, but he came back and bricked or airballed at least 7 threes from the corner. It was just rough. But I'm here to proclaim the Diablo take. It shouldn't even be a Diablo take because everybody should be on board. The title of best player in the world is transferring from LeBron to Don Luka. There is no in between. There's no, well, this guy was the best this year, and Embiid had it this year, and this guy had it this year. When you're talking about the face of the league, the best player, the number one player that every franchise would want to have on their team, I think is Luka Doncic. And he certainly reminds me of a younger LeBron James who, at the age of 22, far surpassed expectations, taking his team to the finals against
finals to
San
lose
Antonio
again.
Spurs. Luka obviously isn't there yet, but it can't be denied he is doing things that nobody else has done. I mean, he's played what, 12 or 13 playoff games, and he already has, like, I don't know, the 10th most 40-point games in like 12 games. Like, it's just,
he's averaging. He's checking so many boxes, and yeah, initially that sounded to me, Justin, like an outlandish take. Like, is this guy really the best in the league? But what
yes,
scares what scares me about
100%.
Luka Doncic as a Spurs fan that's been always scared by like matching up against the Mavs. What scares me about Luka is he still has so much area for improvement. Like, he's playing this well in only his second playoff run, and he even admitted this after, I think, game 6 and game 7. Like, a lot of stuff I didn't do right. Could have made some shots, could have set up my teammates more. He still can improve. His ceiling is so high. So
But that's like exactly what you wanted to say. Like, could have set my teammates up more. Except he did. He could have had 20 or 25 assists in that game. They were getting wide open shots and just couldn't make them. So
yeah, and the fact too, you have to think his neck, his shoulder was still affecting him a little bit. Like,
yeah,
he played that down, and I think because of how much he played it down, it kind of got lost in the narrative whenever they were up in the series. I think people downplayed it, but he was not 100% either. So
I think, based on durability, his health, going forward. If he can stay healthy, I think he is the number one guy in the league for the next 10 years. I think that's when we look back and say, you know, who did it go from? You know, Jordan to Kobe Duncan to LeBron. I think you're going to say Luka was next in line, and he dominated for, you know, a decade. So I'm hoping he stays healthy because he is one of the most enjoyable players to watch. He is the system in and of himself. When he left, it was like nobody could get an open shot. Nobody knew what they were doing. It just like they fell apart. So it's a blessing and a curse in the fact that you have the best player on the court, but as soon as he leaves, there's no system, there's no basketball system, there's no plays, there's no anything. It's just like, well, we run our plays off of what Luka wants to do. So
it is going to be a very interesting offseason for the Mavs because they sunk so much money into Porzingis, and he has not emerged as that second like dominant scorer. He just has not panned out. Not
when Luka goes out,
close to what he did playing for the Knicks on both sides of the floor.
When Luka goes out, you want Kristaps Porzingis being the guy that everything runs through. He's 7'3", athletic. He's not like some oaf who can't dribble a basketball, but like he needs to develop, and I just don't know if he's going to. I think maybe what he is what he's always going to be. So
let's see. No more time on the Mavs Clippers here. Our last matchup from round 1.
I have nothing to say. I think round 1 was over.
I have a lot to say, Justin, here. Suns, taking out the Lakers. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, LeBron. I don't want to hear you complaining about being cussed out at the end of that game. You showed up and you couldn't get a win. You got outplayed, outclassed, completely outperformed by the Phoenix Suns, who I am stoked to follow the rest of these playoffs. But the AD injury, we kind of saw this coming. I think without that injury, this would have been major upset. With the injury, though, I think even if you're the Lakers, you're kind of going like, you know what, we this was a competitive series until AD went down, and then we just couldn't keep up with the firepower.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway here is maybe not the big one, but one of them is Heat Lakers. They made it the farthest last year in the finals. They had the least turnaround time. They were flat. They just didn't have anything really in the tank. They just looked gassed. I mean, AD injury, LeBron ankle, didn't have his explosiveness, and the rest of the role players just like went from the best defense in the league to just getting just obliterated, annihilated, and all props to Devin Booker for just going inferno, because Chris Paul is certainly hampered by his injury, whatever's going on with his shoulder, neck, and Booker cooked them in those last 2 games. It went from a heavy dosage of DeAndre Ayton in the post in the first few games, because they were like, this guy's shooting 80%. He's dominating. But you're down 2-1 in the series, to Booker's going to take over. We need to run things through him. He became the dominating force, and that's when things changed for the Suns. So we know who the number 1 is on that team, but he's got a lot of complement players around him. So to have Ayton as your number 2, who can just like bang down low and shoot ridiculous percentage.
Jay Crowder, like they're contributing players. I mean, stepped up, and they did not back down.
Cameron Payne, like we're gonna get into a little bit more about them in the next segment here, but major props to them. But I'm interested to see how Lakers, Heat bounce back next year with a little more rest than they had. I'm also interested to figure out this season's going to end late again. So are we starting the next one a little farther down? How is the timing going to line up? But we'll look at that in the off season.
Speak no more. Let's get
Round two.
round two. And where I want to start, Justin, I'm gonna throw the bracket up here briefly and just kind of take us on a quick spin of some of these matchups that we have going on, and then I'll pass it over to you to start us off, going back to our Taco Bell sauce ratings to preview some of these series and what we're excited about, what we're intrigued by. Some of these games are already in progress in the Eastern Conference. Atlanta already up 1-0 against the Sixers. We got game 2 happening tonight. Bucks still in Brooklyn before they head back to Milwaukee. Then over in the Western Conference, our number 3 seeded Nuggets taking on the fiery hot Suns.
Los Suns.
Rounding it out with the Clippers taking on a very well-rested Jazz team. So, what is our first matchup that is a mild sauce rating?
It's the second round. It's rare that you would have a mild sauce matchup this late into the postseason, but the Eastern Conference.
Listen,
me. The Eastern Conference. I might be allergic to it. Gives us our only mild sauce matchup of the second round, and perhaps it'll become more intriguing. We got Sixers Hawks. I don't know. I know the Hawks took game 1 from the Sixers, but I think we saw a glimpse in that fourth quarter of what the Sixers can do when they're actually engaged on defense and ready to go. They close things down. I think if you can get, well, I don't know, maybe 2 quarters, 3, God forbid, 4 quarters of decent defense out of them, I think Philly should still have no problem taking care of this series.
Yeah. To me, I'm looking at the series number 1 with a keen eye on that knee for Joel Embiid. We know that Joel Embiid is he's going to contribute. He's going to be a monster, going to create a lot of problems, and he's just going to play with so many
fouls
offense and just create so many problems. To me, going into game 2 and rest of the series, it's going to be what defensive adjustments do the Sixers make? What kind of schemes do they throw at Trae Young? Because for the majority of that game 1, he was getting shots. He was just absolutely crushing pick and rolls. He was finding other guys. And Bogdanovich, Herter, all these guys were stepping up and nailing shots when it mattered. They were getting so many shots that, high percentage shots, killing it from 3. I don't even know what percentage they're shooting there. So I have confidence that the Sixers will make the defensive adjustments. They'll get creative with Ben Simmons, hopefully take Danny Green off primary defensive responsibilities on Trae Young.
Man.
Yet let Tybal play a little bit. But our Danny Green, he was looking a lot colder than he was hot there.
Yeah, icy hot, turning into biofreeze. Hoping that I don't know, something kickstarts him and we get a little hot, back to the icy hot. Start to turn it up.
Yeah, they've got to, because I mean, if they can shut down Trae Young, it's going to be so much harder for the Hawks to find open shooters. I mean, to me, game 1, I'm not. If we've got some loyal Sixers fans out there, don't overreact. You saw what you needed to in that fourth quarter to have confidence that the Sixers are the better team over the series. So I see a lot more exceptional performance by the Hawks, but I just don't see the Hawks being able to produce the same level of offense over the course of 6 or 7 games. Mm-hmm. That's our mild matchup.
Let's head over to the Western Conference for our round 2 hot sauce matchup. Who we got over there?
We got the Nuggets taking on the Suns, and yeah, this has got again. We're looking at Nikola Jokic, wondering how much farther can he carry this Nugget squad against the Suns team that is playing super hot,
Nicola.
playing for the kill. So do you think, Justin? Do you think the Nuggets can make this competitive?
Yeah, I think I saw enough out of the Nuggets against the Blazers to think that they, even without Jamal Murray, are still the real deal. They've got players. Oh, they can ball. I mean, what can Booker bring to the table that Dame couldn't? I, you know what I mean? I mean, those two guys going for 40,
Mm-hmm.
going off. I can see that still happening and maybe not being enough. So I think this is where we were talking about Aiton coming in. How does he fare against Nikola? All right. You're prime time for the MVP. All right. Is Aiton going to be able to bang down low with him? Is he going to be able to match him on the boards? Is he going to be able to match him scoring wise? Is he going to get into foul trouble? Is Jokic going to pull him away from the paint? Is he even going to be the primary defender on him? How do they want to run their matchups? So this has a little more intrigue for me than that first mild sauce matchup for some of these reasons. Is Chris Paul going to be healthy? Is he going to be feeling 100%? One of the things I am interested in is, does this Phoenix Suns team just go cold? Like they just had their NBA finals. You know what I mean? Like, does this, this 2 versus 3, this is going to tell us if they're the real deal. I mean, without Jamal Murray, you would think the Suns should be the favorite in the series. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to go with the Nuggets to win this series. I think it's going to be a long series, 6-7 games. But I think we get some of that, maybe turn it into a pumpkin. We're going to find out which team is the real deal. Are they gassed? Do they have an emotional letdown? Is it 1 game? Is it 2 games or not? I mean, Denver was in the Western Conference Finals last year. They played tough matchup after tough matchup, and I think they're ready to take another step to get back to the Western Conference Finals. But I am excited about this series.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a pretty bold claim. Taking the Nuggets here. I've got to disagree with you on the winner that I see coming out of the series. And
Man.
to me, it comes down to the roster that is deep, more rested, and is facing less injuries in the Suns. So you hit on one matchup that I'm really, really excited to watch is battle of the big man down low with Ayton and Jokic. I mean, that is going to be a ton of fun to watch in and of itself, because to me, so much of Denver's offense is really like Jokic gets so many touches, and he is the key to their entire offensive scheme. Whereas on the side of the Suns, Ayton is more of their, he's cleaning up on the boards. He's getting the offensive. He's keeping plays alive. He's just the kind of all-out hustle player. So for the Suns, I'm going to be watching how do they exploit their point guard matchups? How do they exploit their, like Devin Booker, whoever's guarding him. So I think that Nicole is going to surprise us, and guys like Michael Porter are going to step up. I'm not sure if Will Barton is coming back in the series, but I think some of the wings and some of the bigs for the Nuggets are going to create some problems. But I think Chris Paul, Devin Booker, there's just so many more weapons that make the Suns team still incredibly dangerous. So I'm taking Suns in 6.
Suns in 6. Yeah, it looks like Barton is expected out for at least another couple days, so he might be back this series. Same with PJ Dozier. Not sure how much we're expecting out of either of them
Okay.
heading forward.
We got any more hot sauce matchups here?
I think we're about to upgrade ourselves. We're going to stay in the Western Conference, and we're going to hit a fire sauce matchup. Things are definitely getting hot. We have the number 1 seeded Utah Jazz hosting your LA Clippers and your main man, Mr. Kawhi Leonard.
Whoa. My LA Clippers. Come on, Justin.
Well, a Kawhi fan, are you not?
Once a Kawhi fan. Okay.
Have you been spurned?
He what you did there. I like that. He royally spurned the Spurs. So just the way he left a very, very nasty taste in my mouth. And I mean, I will respect his greatness, but I will not root for the Clippers. So Clippers, I think are playing with a ton of just excitement. I feel like in that 7-game series, they had to dig so deep. They had to, like, facing so much criticism, so much hate, so much just kind of like disrespect, quite frankly.
The slander.
And they gutted out 2 wins in a row. Like they did what Mavs couldn't do. Like they won at home. And so to me, I think that this is going to be at least a 6-game series. I am looking at this hoping that it goes another 7-game series. Earlier you were talking about how Luka is kind of now the face of the league. To me, the way I'm looking at Kawhi Leonard is he's kind of like that LeBron James on a team where you can never count out Kawhi Leonard and his squad. So I'm looking at this.
Unless they have a 3-1 lead and they're up 19 points in game 5, 17 in game 6.
Yeah, but yeah. So if we get over that hiccup last year, we still and Kawhi was talking about this actually after game 7. He was talking about how every series, he treats every game like that's game set. He treats every game like it's its own event, and he tries not to pull in prior games or think about the future. So Kawhi, just seeing in game 6 and game 7 how down the stretch he absolutely took over while he was also defending one of the most explosive players on the other side of the court. Like that is what's that about, Justin? You just hailed Luka Doncic as the best player in the league.
I know. Was Kawhi really spending a lot of time in the series defending him? I guess a little bit more in game 6 and 7, but
as the series went on, he was.
As the self-proclaimed greatest wing defender combination in the history of the NBA, PG and Kawhi, they shied away from guarding Luka an awful lot in this series. And one thing I'm looking forward to is who's going to be guarding Donovan Mitchell. Mm-hmm. One of those two, or is Reggie Jackson got the assignment? Because if you guys are the best, why aren't you taking the challenge? So that's what I'm looking forward to. I want to see who's drawing defensive assignments and who's, passing the responsibility to Reggie Jackson or Terrence Mann or Patrick Beverly or whoever, on and on and on.
You're dissing Reggie Jackson, but the man stood up. He poured in like 20-some points in game 6 against the Mavs, poured in another 15. The Mavs or the Clippers had, their bench really stepped up in game 6 and 7. So we saw more depth that really, obviously Kawhi and Paul George were a huge part of that, but we saw the bench step in and step up. And if the Clippers can continue to have their third and fourth scorers. I think we're going to see some Ivan Zubac in this matchup a little bit more.
Zubaka. You think
For
he's going to be battling down low with Rudy Gobert?
Zubaca. Man, it's going to be – we're going to see a Zubac sighting here. But, yeah, I think that there are going to be some really fun matchups. With obviously, you've got an incredible defense like Jazz are one of the number 1, number 2 defense in the league. We know that Gobert is going to be a monster down low, but the Clippers have the shooters that are going to be pulling him out, and I think they're going to be negating some of that incredible advantage that the Jazz would otherwise exert on other teams. So,
but with the defensive prowess of Gobert, is he going to be getting switched onto and pick and rolls? Is he going to be using his length to cover Kawhi or Paul George as they play? So, this got some fire. Can the Clippers get past the second round? You look at last year as just a total failure for being the favorite heading into the season to win the title. They essentially improved their roster, so they need to be better this year. Can they get past the Jazz? Can they make a legitimate deep run in these playoffs? And if they can't, where does that send Kawhi? So I think this series has a lot of storylines, a lot of backdrop, a lot of – obviously it's got some star power. Yeah. So I think well-deserving of the fire sauce matchup.
I couldn't agree more. And before we move up the fire sauce rating, because I know that's where you want to go, one last thing I want to hit on for this Jazz Clippers series that, again, is just keeping it in that fire level for me, is the Clippers have – this is a make or break series. They have more on the line that they're playing for, because this squad is going – we're in the finals. We're in the finals playing for a championship, or we rebuild, and they retool their roster. But on the other side, the Jazz, to me, they might be playing with like less of that on the line, but they're playing for respect. This team had the number 1 record in the league. They're looking to me like a more complete squad. They've got, even though Jordan Clarkson and Joe Ingles didn't really do much in first round,
Clarkson had some good games.
Okay. And I guess he won some award too. But he's like, to me, I think the Jazz are they're gonna jump out really strong. I wouldn't be surprised if the first 2 games of this are blowouts in favor of the Jazz, and we just have these massive swings between games. Like, I think the Jazz are gonna show up pretty strong in game 1 and 2 at home.
I could agree with that. I think the Mavs the Clippers coming off that series with the Mavs could be a little bit tired legs heading into their game 1 matchup. So, All right, let's wrap things up with what has confounded me so far. On paper, heading into this, we listed this as a Diablo sauce matchup. The first one of the actual playoffs, much like when we had Warriors-Lakers in the play-in game, deserving of the Diablo sauce ranking.
That's right.
And we are, sadly, 2 games in, and it is currently 76 to 123.
Are you serious?
It's like,
oh gosh.
So on paper, for lots of reasons, Diablo sauce matchup, star power. You have a guy who just won back-to-back MVPs. You have a team that just swept last year's Eastern Conference champions.
Check.
All right. Much better on defense, an inside dominant presence going against a team who has no defense, versus KD, Kyrie, Harden, the best offense in the league, the most efficient offense in the league, you're thinking Diablo sauce matchup. This thing is going to be throwing heat, fire. And it just has the potential to be Taco Bell Verde sauce. Like, I mean, I
Oh,
mean, so weak, you don't even open it. It's not going on anything because it adds nothing to the meal. I
yeah.
mean,
You see that pack, you're like, what the heck is this doing here? What's some
like, I
bear?
thought they discontinued this. This is
Yeah.
definitely expired. Like, Harden goes down, so injury, so one
What,
star
40
power out.
seconds into the game, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
And you're thinking, oh, well, Harden's out. He's the guy who sort of facilitates. He took the lesser role scoring so he could facilitate. He's out. That gives the Bucks an advantage. And then the Bucks go 6 for 30 from three, their worst shooting in on the season. And then they come out in game two, flat as could be, and just get punched in the mouth and have no response. You have Giannis shooting threes in a 10-7 game. Why does he only have like 3 or 4 free throws? Why is he not punishing people down low? He should be getting these guys into foul trouble. Like this, I'm really hoping this goes to Milwaukee and things get turned around and it's coming back to Brooklyn 2-2. But I definitely see the potential for just the underestimation of the Nets offense to just not even have to play defense. I mean, if you're going to go that cold from the field, you're never going to compete with them. There's just no way that you got to play better defense. You got to make open shots. You got to get them into foul trouble.
see, that's what has me most concerned about this matchup so far is how the Nets, how dominant they've looked in game one and now game two tonight without their top three players playing. Like that to me is terrifying if you are any team looking at the Nets right now, is the fact that they could be without Harden and still have absolute blowouts. So I'm pulling out the same phrase that I used for the Mavs Clippers series was existential crisis for the Bucks. Just like you said, they're it's going to be a long flight back to Milwaukee, and they've got to make a lot of adjustments. If you're the Nets, you're going, hey, we're in the driver's seat. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. If you're the Bucks, you got to get creative. You got to find your identity again. Go, where is our defense? Where is Giannis punishing guys on the block? Where is Giannis exerting his will against the team? And how do we not get caught up in this kind of like super fast-paced game that the Nets play? Spin it like that's not who the Bucks are. They need to find their identity, stick to that. And I am praying, I am hoping that this time when we're talking next week, Justin, we're looking at a 2-2 series.
I need a Diablo sauce matchup. I need it. So, yeah, I don't know. They could have started that playing at halftime. They could have started at the end of the first quarter. They could have started at 5 minutes into the game because this was just done. I mean, you might as well have just spotted them 2 games and stayed in Milwaukee to rest up because one more footnote. What a sellout Blake Griffin is. I mean, are you kidding me? Just like you go from being like Paul Pierce needing a wheelchair to get to the bathroom to just like throwing down like 2-fisted hammer dunks, just jumping over people. Like, you hustled the entire city of Detroit. You hustled all of the NBA fandom. Just
He's been
shame on you.
resting
The
his
level of
legs.
disrespect.
He's been resting
Just,
his legs just for this moment, Justin. He,
oh
he's
my
he's
gosh.
been resting his legs, going like, you know what? I'm gonna let those haters pile on that train. I'm gonna let them like think I'm out of it. Think I'm too old. Think I don't have the hops anymore. First game with the Nets. let me throw it on some dunks. Let me get up there for some lobs. And now he's just trying to prove people wrong. But I'm with you. I'm a hater.
He's
I
not
just don't
trying to
like.
prove anybody wrong. He's sheepishly laughing all the way, just like how he suckered everybody in. He's a stooge and a sellout.
I just don't like the way the Nets have kind of corralled the squad.
I don't even.
Not a fan. KD is
I,
the ultimate snake. So
the ultimate snake. This is brutal.
we're gonna be sending our strength, sending our power to the Bucks. They need it. Going down
Giannis,
the hall.
turn from the Greek freak into Giannis the Adonis. Please, I'm begging you, give us something. I can't take this.
Oh man.
And this is just going to be perfect for the Nets. They're going to blow this team out, and then they're going to have like Embiid in the next round with like a torn meniscus, and like
in both legs.
And then they're not going to have to face LeBron and AD in the finals. They're going to get some chump team from the West who way overshot their expectations, and I mean,
don't disrespect the Western Conference like that.
All right.
Don't do that.
Let's. All right, Mr. Ogden. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
So
thank you.
Highlight of the week, my friend.
Thank you, supporters, for tuning in. If you made it this far, God bless you. Check us out at Taco Ball Tuesday on Twitter and Instagram for live game commentary, any funny memes, videos of us eating tacos. Send us comments, send us texts, give us suggestions. What do you got? And you may be featured on an episode of Taco Ball Tuesday.
That's right. Give us ideas for virtual backgrounds that we can do here to feature more players named Taco or
Fall Tuesday.
Taco Fall Tuesday. Something we can bring out soon. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, Justin.
Yeah. From our hearts and mouths and stomachs to yours, I say, yo quiero taco ball, baby.
Yo quiero taco